We're at the end of January 2023, and it's the 28th. It's very close to the Quickening, which is February 1st. And I thought I'd just say a few words about that and the activity it brings in. I wanted to show you these barrels, because these are what we used to use in our greenhouse to modify the temperatures. So we painted them black. They're actually juice containers for apple juice. We bought these 20 years ago at a supply house, and they were used, but we've had them, they last forever. But we painted them black, filled them with water, put them in our first little greenhouse, and it really helps to modify the temperatures just enough. If you have cold weather crops without heat in your greenhouse, these can be very helpful to get them through low temperature points. Fill it with water on a sunny day. The black especially helps it to absorb warmth, and then it gives that off at night. And sometimes it's just enough to extend your season without adding extra heat or cost to running the greenhouse. So plants like kale, arugula, parsley, and spinach. That's traditionally what we've grown in our greenhouse without heat. Now, we didn't put them in our current greenhouse, even though it's a little bit bigger, because really, I was kind of selfish about the space, and I didn't want to give up the space. But what happened this year was that we had a really bad cold snap. And for 2 days, the temperature went down to somewhere around 5 degrees overnight. Ordinarily, all of my kale and arugula in this greenhouse would have made it through this winter without any problem. Would have sailed straight through. We would have had greens to eat all winter, but I did not give it extra help, and all of the arugula went down. Some kale survived. I have a few little ones, but they will start to grow with the lengthening days now. So I'm cleaning it out of what was damaged over the winter on those 2 cold nights. And what I will do is scratch the soil and hope that some of the seeds that have fallen on this soil will germinate, and maybe we'll get lucky and have another crop of arugula. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. And I also have some seeds that I saved of the kale. I can throw them down and they'll be fine. They'll germinate, and then in the spring we'll have some of those plants. So here's what I did already. I just scratched the soil. I have 2 tools that I find very useful. The first one, well, one of these collapsible rakes. They're really good for small places and tight spots. So because there's not much room for a big fan rake in here, this is very helpful. And then this other one is called a saddle hoe, and it looks like a stirrup on a saddle. If you go horseback riding, you'll recognize that. But it cuts through the roots and the stems of the weeds, so you can just run it through something that still has a lot of roots attached. For instance, I raked in here. Now this side I already finished, but here you can see where I raked, but a lot of the dead material came out. But these greens still have roots and they wouldn't come out. So I will go back, and with the saddle hoe, I'll cut the roots off there. And it's got a nice long handle, so it makes it easy to get under this work table. Now, right there. So here's some of what I raked out already. And then this is what I've got yet to do. So I will clean all this up And then when I'm finished, I'll water everything. And look at the mess. Very disappointing. Really so. Like, really? All that gone. So anyway, that's what I've yet to do. It's made so much easier with these wonderful tools. And here's where we're at. I did a little bit of cleanup. Rosemary made it through okay. The bay laurel made it through okay. Some of the lavender looks like it took a bit of a hit, but I'll trim that back. Not just yet. Roses did fine. And we'll trim them back in the spring. But I had some verbena that was looking like it might make it through the winter in the greenhouse, but that went down, so I cleaned all those pots out. It was an awful mess. Here's some others. Too bad. What a shame. But that's all right. Here's another rose bush. That's going to be okay. Got a nice jasmine there. And then we do have several pots of tulips that I planted in the fall. So we'll see how they come out. I think they'll be all right. Although there was one pot where the shoots were coming up and it killed them back. So some made it, some didn't. Here are some onions that I had from the kitchen, and I cut like in a circle around the root and the growing tip. And in the warmer weather, I put them out in the garden and let them grow on, but it's not to be trusted this late in the winter. So I put them in this pot in the greenhouse, and we'll see if they're going to make it. They will put out new roots, and then fresh green stems will come up, and I'll have the green tops to work with in the kitchen. So that's the report for January 2023. We'll see where it all goes. Should be an interesting year.